Welcome to Leverage to Build Wealth, where we discuss and educate entrepreneurs, mortgage, real estate, and financial service professionals on how to leverage tools and other people's experience to truly leverage to build wealth to create the lifestyle and legacy you desire. All right. Hello. Thank you for coming in today's episode. Today, I got Jonathon Haddad, who is the president of Nextdoor Lending and also the newest president of AIME. He's got a mountain of responsibilities on his shoulders, but if you've seen this man in person, he's got big shoulders so he can carry the weight, but he's a good guy. He's walking into a position during a volatile and highly emotional time of the market where I don't envy anybody. He can walk on water and people wonder, why isn't he swimming? There's no one that could be perfect for any kind of position of great responsibility in a time when a market is shrinking and volatile. And I think, it's difficult. We'll address that a little bit later, but I have a lot of tremendous respect for what he's willing to take on and the burdens that he has. But even more important than that, his charge, his ability to tackle on things face on. He's not afraid to answer any kind of tough questions. And I appreciate that about you, John. Thank you. And welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, brother. I really do appreciate it, man. And I'm excited. Just, share my truth, share my side of the story, my story, just how life is going, man. And just overall, just bring people together and look forward to just connecting and just talking shop.
Perfect. Now, counter to many people in the sales industry, right? Because I believe there's different levels of how your perception of sales grows and matures in time. I'm competitive, but not the kind of competitive like I was 10 years ago. I'm competitive in the aspect of I'm chasing my better self. I am competing against the good, better, best version of myself. Although I'm in an industry where technically, like everyone's competitors, even people who are within the same major company I'm with underneath my umbrella, I'm still technically competitive against them. And other brokers, and with other companies and retail companies. I really don't look at them as the competition, although technically we are. I'm more of a collaborator. I'm like, hey, bro, the content of who you are, the personality. I mean, I've worked for competitors and jump ship to other ones. And so I'm like, you know what? I don't hate people because of where they work. It's like, so I have a little bit different perspective, and when a younger version of me, it's a little bit different, but I've come to realize that good people are everywhere. Tell us, if you can, what brought you into the industry that you're in, and about your family, your support system you have, because this is going to be about you as a person and also you as the professional. I'm a big believer if we understand who you are, it adds more context to the kind of decisions you make. Does that make sense?
110%, man. And I will say one thing about what you said is why I smiled. You talked about, you're not as competitive as you were 10 years ago. And it's more so competition with yourself. And that's what people don't get. That's where you need to get to in life. Yes. My mentor used to tell me this all the time. He would literally say, he would talk about the weakest forms of leadership. And he would say fear is one of the weakest forms of leadership, right? Fear, because if you're in a position of power, you can instill fear. But he talked about competition because competition starts to run out. Like you see these athletes that are making millions and millions of dollars, and after a while, they're just not into that. But when you get to a place where you're more focused on you as a human being and like improving yourself every day, you become the most dangerous version because you're no longer worrying about what everybody else is doing. So I love that you said that, put a smile on my face. That's a great way to start this. And then regards for me, brother. So I am 32 years old, been in the mortgage space now. April will be 11 years. I've been in leadership at a leadership capacity for 10 years.
Wow.
I got into the space so early on. So I'm first generation Middle Eastern American.
All right.
And my dad grew up in a mud hut.
Wow.
My mom grew up overseas as well. And he moved to the country when he was 18. My parents got a little age gap between them. She ended up moving to Canada. And I have two siblings, two younger siblings. I'm the oldest of three. My brother works here alongside myself at Next Door Lending, and then my sister, actually, my brother-in-law also works for me now too. So that's been all full circle. So kept it all in the family, taught him the business. My brother, he used to work for a bank, and then came with me later on. So 20 years old, I was turning 21. I was a bartender. So I worked at Buffalo Wild Wings in Westland, Michigan. It was crazy. About a week ago, I had an event right next door to it.
Oh, wow.
So it was crazy to see it. I was like, that's wild that
Full
this
circle.
place is right here. It was. But I was in that bar. I loved the bartending space. I was good at it, loved people. And I was always trying to find ways, like if the most they're ever going to tip me is $1, great. I'm going to earn that dollar, no matter what it was, like no judgment, just be a good person.
Yeah.
And so one day this guy comes into my bar, and as a 20-year-old young man turning 21, I was super close. He had the Ferragamo belt on, he's got the Rolly on, he's got the Burberry on. And as a young man that didn't have that in his life, I was like, what is that? That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So I took great care of him, still stay in touch on occasions to this day, 11 years later. And so took wonderful care of him, had an awesome combo. And when I finished taking care of him, I got super busy. He loved how I handled myself. Pulls me aside. He's like, how much money you make? I said, what? That's a weird question to ask another human.
Yeah.
Listen, come on, how much money do you make? I tell him. He's like, you want to make triple? I'm like, what do I gotta do, to make triple? So I'm starting to freak out a little bit. So he tells me what he does. I'm like, okay, cool. Let me go see what that's about. So I go, I see what it's about. It was Rocket Mortgage at the time, learned about it, understood it, went home, talked to my mom, talked to my grandma. So I was actually going to go back to school. I had dropped out literally to help take care of my family. So we ran into some just struggles. And so I had to help out around the house, just very common in my culture for the oldest to really put that on their shoulders.
100%.
And so I was helping, doing my thing. And then I told my grandma, I said, I signed up for school for classes. It was literally coming up that spring. She goes, well, this is God put something in front of you. She goes, school's always going to be there. This might not. So then, boom, I immediately decide to take it. I take it, and then I absolutely exploded very, very quickly. The promotions, all the work, everything like that. But I was super green, and I think that's something a lot of us are, especially when you come from situations where you never had something like that before and never made money. And so you just don't learn. It is, and you just don't learn a lot about the space and how it actually works, and you don't understand the whole nuances of it because that's not the job, right? The job was to, do this. Here's what you can do. Here's what you can't do. Have a good day. So I got into leadership early, and I just started learning more and more and more and more and more and more and more. And then I was there till 2019. And then I moved to California. I got my real estate license in California.
Wow.
Got my DRE, did commercial real estate. I was like, let me go figure out where the money is. Let me go figure out how to connect. So I met a guy out there, and he took me under his wing, and this guy was selling deals for like 60 million, 50, 60 million here. So I was like, yo, that's money. Okay. This is like, let me learn where the money is. So I started to learn about that space. And then after a year, got into Next Door Lending. I'm a third owner of Next Door Lending.
Oh, wow.
I opened up our location in Las Vegas because I moved to Las Vegas, lived there. Had an awesome time building that out. And then I started learning a lot about the broker space. And I was like, okay, wait, all these loans I was being told I can't do, turns out I can do them.
Yeah.
So that was mind blowing for me. And then for me, I've been getting a lot closer to my faith, personally. And I think that's really helped me with just my growth as a human. Because you do things that you aren't proud of in your early 20s. I can say
it's
that
part of life. Yeah.
It is part of life. So it is fun. And it's hard to accept that sometimes. But like the older I get, the more I'm like, okay, everybody, like I said earlier, right? Where's anyone else, Mother Teresa? Because I can't find you anywhere. So that's been amazing. And then my fiance at the time, who's now my wife, her and I, we decided to come back to Michigan. She's from here originally. I met her in Los Angeles. We went to high school together. But we reconnected in LA. We decided to move back. And we just started to grow, Next Door Lending. But more importantly, like our family, her and I were married. We just had two twins. They're 6 months old. Oh, wow. Elias and Eliana, just absolutely perfect. but to your point, man, you said it best earlier. The thing that's helped me the absolute most is my relationship with my faith. It truly is,
Good.
for me personally.
Good.
But the number two, man, just God, you walk into that house and you just see those smiles on the face. Like it's crazy, man. And it's just like this is what I'm doing. And then the other thing that helps is the support. Like the people that reach out to me just thanking me or the impacts I've made on their lives, those are the people that keep me going. So to answer your question full circle, the importance of family is everything. And even if you don't, there's some people out there that their journey was more difficult than my journey, and that's part of life, right? Everyone's journey is different and difficult to them as a human being.
Yeah.
Doesn't make mine or yours less or different, but you might have not had things that I would have had, and vice versa.
Yeah.
But even for those that don't have that family support, I know there's good ass human beings out there that are more than happy to allow you to share information with them that they keep close to the chest and give you the best insight they possibly can. So it's so important to find that person, because it keeps you grounded. And then to your point, you learn that your focus is you being a better person every day. Like I got to become a better father. I got to become a better husband. I got to become a better son. I got to become a better brother, a better family man, a better man of faith, a better businessman. And that's it, man. That's really it. And no one will ever tell me differently, because one day, I believe I will meet my maker,
Yes.
and he's going to play my life. He's going to play the whole thing on a screen. And I'm going to be embarrassed on a lot of parts, and I'm going to put my head down embarrassed. But the one thing I hope to God is that, it looks back and goes, okay, this person tried to be better every single day. So that's really what I believe in my heart of hearts, and no one can ever take that from me.
You know, thank you for sharing that, John. That is
Mm-hmm.
awesome. That offers so much context that will definitely help with the rest of the conversation. And that's a big part of the theme is how do we adapt and move on? How do we do where do we go from here? You know, um, Market wise, uh, some of the stuff that's going on with AIME, but more of philosophy. I love philosophy and psychology in the aspect of how we go about things. I got this really cool quote, that helps frame some understanding for me, and it comes from Stephen R. Covey. He says, "We see the world not as it is, but as we are, or as we are
Mm-hmm.
conditioned to see it." And then Henry Major Thomason says something pretty close. He says, "We see things not as they are, but as we are," and I think that is something that is really profound. And there's this one other one, and I'll end it on the quotes. It's from Anwar Sadat. He says, "He who cannot change the very fabric of his thought will never be able to change reality and will never, therefore, make any progress." And that's where, you brought up so many points that drive home my philosophies. And not that I'm looking for an echo chamber. I have no problem with people that disagree with me. That's absolutely no problem. Because I believe in everyone's right to have their own thoughts. But there's consequences to our actions and our thoughts. It's you being a dad, you definitely understand that. I've got 6 kids. We're trying for number 7. And when it's still to my kids, I'm like, hey, you have power over your life, but you don't have power over all the consequences. Now,
I
here's the
love
reason
that.
why is
We want 6 as well. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I want
no,
6 too so badly. So sorry. I just super.
no,
That was
it's
awesome.
awesome. It actually gets easier with more kids, because the older ones start to help. And so it becomes pretty cool. It's a very energetic household, to say the least. But a big part, I would say I'm not less competitive than I was when I was younger. It's just the whole quality and purpose of the competition is different. And so I've probably rephrased that on myself because I am very competitive because I recognize what's important, what's on the line, and to the point of where you're talking about to your family, right? I see them, I see my whys. That fuels me a whole lot more than beating someone else on the leaderboard. Like, uh, uh whenever I was working at Quicken Loans, we both worked there. I worked there for 4.5 years. I actually loved my experience with the Big Red Machine. It was very fun. It was my introduction into the mortgage industry. I love the big aspect of the culture there. And anyone who's never worked there, they're only going off of secondhand, third hand, fourth hand experiences of what it's like there. It's actually a great company. and the core philosophies of a lot of the stuff of the company is really cool. But one of the things that helped me understand as my maturity grew is what my neighbor did or didn't do doesn't impact me. Right? It's like, cool, great for you. I applaud that you're doing great. That doesn't diminish me. And when people make those kind of changes in their mind, that someone else's success doesn't diminish yours, it doesn't diminish my value. um it's interesting, which is going to give me a little quick tangent. I'm going to bring up a point. There's a lot of
You're
people
good.
who've left the industry because for a variety of different reasons, but that they just couldn't hold on any longer. And that's because the war chests are longer. And so if someone has a bigger war chest, and they have an extra support, whatever, they're able to hold on longer. But others, you know what? That's not the case. And I would see in some of these different forums where people are attacking, say, oh, good riddance, good, they're gone. I'm like, are you that kind of friend? I'm like, if your friend lost their house or their friend lost their job, like, would you say good for them? I don't want them in my life. I'm like, you're a real piece of shit. If you view your friends that way, and then I'm going to ask you, do you view your clients that way? Do you look at your clients being
Mm,
like, if your clients don't make the kind of income you have, if the clients you have, and we have a pretty prosperous profession, feast and famine, but like, if your clients don't have as much assets as you do you look down on them? Are they pieces of shit to you too? Just like all these other people who've left the industry to be professionals somewhere else. Like, is that how you view them? If that's the kind of person, so like when I see people, oh, I'm happy they're gone. I'm like, you're kind of person I don't want to even know, because if that is the quality of, in like the nature of how you view people, you're use people. You don't you're not trying to help people. You're trying to use people if that's all they are to you. And to give you some context about my perspective, but um I love that from when I see the messaging that have come from you, when I've looked at some different aspects of reels and podcasts you've done, you're very forward thinking. You're like, hey, let's take on a challenge, address it, be adults about it, move on. Solve the problem, move on, pivot, because there's more opportunities ahead of us. There are so many more opportunities ahead of us than the problems we have before us. Can you talk a little bit about that, my friend?
I will, but there's something I want to make sure I talk about because I want to add this to your repertoire of quotes because I love the fact that you're quote specific. Jim Rohn said something that I love. He passed away in 2013. Just an absolute inspirational, motivational speaker. Huge inspiration to me. I watch him all the time. I listen to him all the time. But he said something. He goes, I'll work on me for you only if you work on you for me.
Mm.
And it's such a deep quote because it's true, right? We get in the habit, especially early on in leadership, where it's like, don't worry, I got you. Don't worry, I'll take care of this. Don't worry, I'll do that. No, that's too much pressure for me, right? I know you were talking about the shoulders. That's too much on me. That's too much on me. And now that I have children, it's like I want to teach them that same philosophy. Like, do I want my children depending on X, person to get the job done for them? No, I want to teach them to focus. Hey, here's how you grow. Here's how you practice. You're not going to quit on this. You made a commitment. We're going to honor that commitment. So it's like teaching those habits early on. And then the other piece is something really fascinating. And I think this is where people's mindsets start to change. So I'm a major, I believe in data. I just
Yeah.
do. And one of the data pieces that they have a ton, there's an amazing, I believe it's Harvard. I'm like 99% sure it's Harvard. They did a study and the study was people on their deathbed. Okay. And I believe the study was like, it was an absurd amount of years on how long they did it. I think it was over 50-year study that they did with this data and information.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing they found is right when people got to it, when you really came to the end of your life, what do you think they cared about the
Uh, well, their family, but also I know they look at things that they didn't take advantage of.
most? Bingo. Okay,
Regret.
you nailed it. So you
Regrets
you
are
nailed you
important.
you nailed those two. That's hilarious. You nailed those two things. So, and the reason that I bring that to you is because my philosophy has changed. The word perception versus perspective. Okay,
Mm.
I try to put myself in a mindset of perspective. Perception is what is my reality of the world and how it's impacting John Haddad. So like, you know, if I get negativity, it's like, okay, how is this impacting me right now? I'm emotional. How do I feel about this? Does it bother me? Do I get triggered? That's perception. Now, what I've been gotten really good at doing is I change that into perspective. So after my 30 minutes, an hour, sometimes a day, it depends on how hard I'm, you know, getting hit, because that was new for me with my transition into this
Yeah.
role. I was never used to that in my career, where, you know, someone that's never talked to me is now judging me based on something like they don't know anything, you know, much about. And so like I'm getting, it's like I've never had that. So that was new for me. So that took a little bit longer than normal for me. But now I turn it into perspective. Perspective is, what is my overview of the world if I take myself out of it? And I imagine, let's just say I put Tom in there and not John Haddad, and I say,
Yeah.
Tom's going through this, not John. Now, how is that impacting that individual differently versus how is it impacting me?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to make sure I gave you that context.
Cool. I appreciate that, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because, you know, that's maturity. Now you mentioned something about your family. I want to circle back to that about your dad.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, coming from the Middle East,
Mm-hmm.
your dad growing up in a mud hut,
Yep.
bro, that is so inspirational
Mm-hmm.
because from what you've shared about your siblings, I bet your dad is very proud. You're
Yeah.
living the American dream, and you're the first generation of living this dream for your family. And uh, my great grandfather was an immigrant, you know, and so I greatly appreciate immigrants who come to America to change their life. They change their destiny. They change their generational destinies, and they put it all on the line. I cannot even imagine the kind of struggles from going from that to then coming to America, dramatically night and day, culturally, financially, the work ethic that he would have to have. And so I actually, putting that in context, the kind of philosophy that your dad would have to teach you, to help you be successful, to even have you know, a stab at opportunity, says a lot about the family culture that you have, and it must be very strong. And the sense of family unity, I would have to assume, because everyone I know from the Middle East and Eastern cultures, that family is everything. The it you that it's everything. It's not a by thought, you know, it's not just an afterthought of, hey, whatever. What part of your dad's philosophies stick with you to this day that are a big part of how you view life? It could be professionally, personally, anything. But what about your dad is echoed in your voice?
So my mom would probably tell you the bad parts. My dad's stubborn. He's a stubborn man. But it's so funny, you know.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this. So my dad, he had an awesome journey. So my dad was one of the first ever Arabic singers in the country. So he had a very lucky
Wow.
break early on, and then just again, this is why like that financial literacy piece is so important to me,
Yes.
because like my dad, you know, mismanagement, there was things like people he trusted that he shouldn't have trusted, but he
Yes.
didn't know. My dad came from nothing. So for him, you know, he went down a path that hurt him financially and hurt him mentally.
Yeah.
And he, you know, he's been bouncing back, and now he has us, and we've been helping out, you know, like for so long now, because it's part of our journey together. But I'll tell you this, man, my dad, the one thing I'll tell you that is crazy that I saw him do all the time, when he's in front of people, man, he has a switch that turns on, and he just knows how to make people feel just so spectacular. And my wife says that all the time, you know, when she meets him, she's like, God, he just makes me feel so good all the time. And my dad's had that. I mean, that's a gift my father has. And people that meet him just fall in love with him right away. Damn, you're gonna make me emotional. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Um,
That's
but
good.
but
No, this is the getting
I
to real you. This is the
yeah,
authentic you.
and I feel like I feel like I have that, you know. When I'm in front of people, I don't care about the way I feel anymore. I just don't. So like, you know, even with this call, this podcast, you and I, you know, before this I had a pretty difficult conversation, and it was really messing with my mindset a little bit. But the second I heard this call is being recorded and I saw your face, And I just thought about my mentors and all the people. It's like, okay, this guy deserves the best version of me right now. It's not, it is what I just dealt with has nothing to do with you. And my mentor, Stephen Luigi Piazza, he taught me, he goes, you owe people the best version of yourself every time you meet them. And so, like, that's what I think about. So I think about my dad in terms of like that switch that turns on. But then I think about, Stephen Luigi Piazza. He passed
Yes.
away
An
6 years ago.
an
You know who he
icon
is.
in the
Yeah,
Quicken
you would know who he
universe.
is.
He is an incredible icon in the Quicken universe, a very good, noble, awesome person.
Beautiful
Anyone
man.
talks trash about them, they're pieces of crap themselves. He's a good man. Keep going.
No, they are, man. And so I think about all of that, and I think about what I got from my dad, and that is for sure something I pride myself in. Now my son, so the way it works in my culture, you're named after your grandfather.
Oh,
So I'm named after my grandfather who passed away before I was born, but now my son is named after my father. So his name is Elias Jonathan Haddad.
yeah.
And this little rugrat, man, this little boy, he's got that look to him already. And I told my wife, I go, he's got it. She said, what has he got? I said, he has what I have, and he has what my dad has. And he's got this smile, this little smirk. He's got this little
Wow.
like, you see him, he knows what he's doing, he's gonna get your attention. And I'm like, okay, like is there maybe there's
Yeah, he's
genetically something
charismatic.
there. He's got it, man. So it's really cool to watch my son, go through that journey. My daughter, a little bit more of the stubborn, like, I'm not impressed, but my son's got that swagger about him. So it feels really cool to watch it. And that's one hell of a question. And I appreciate you asking that.
No, that's good. And that probably says a lot maybe towards your mom too. I'm sure your daughter has some elements that are like your mom. Because
Oh, my mom's
because
I'm a mama's boy, man. I'm
yeah,
a mama's boy badly. Badly.
same here. Same here.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go ahead and switch gears a little bit. We're going to use the same vein of thought, but we're going to switch gears. Here you're working with Next Door Lending. You said you got 1/3 ownership of it now, right?
Yeah, so I'm the president of Next Door Lending, and I am still originating as well. And I have a team now we have about 20 people now.
Wow. All right. What I've seen online from people who work with you is you have a very loyal, strong group of people that what I see as an observer, one who hasn't worked there, I haven't been to your office, never been to Michigan, is I see a culture of people who are loyal to each other. And I appreciate that. I'm, although I run my own branch, the Atomic, financial mortgage team, I'm under Nexa Mortgage. And Mike Cordes, he
You see his
has,
post today?
no, I haven't seen it yet today, but
He just propped me out. He propped out AIME and propped me out today
really, okay, good,
on
good,
his
good, good.
Facebook. Yep.
Yeah, he's growing and developing too. Everyone's on their own path on how they're growing and developing. And he also super strong, loyal, following. And I believe that says a lot about you because to have loyal people who want to follow you, and you can't be a leader if you don't have followers. This is it is what it is. So like, what are you leading? That says a lot about the character of you because when I saw all the people who are coming out and responding to ridiculous asinine statements I'm like, I don't think you would talk to someone like that in person. And if you did, I can't imagine you'd have that much teeth, because I've seen some ignorant ass comments, in different forums and keyboard warriors, and I'm just like, wow, that's pretty damn stupid. I don't even know you, but I'm like, that's a dumbass comment, you know. But then I would see people who work with you and stand up with no thought for gain of themselves. They're like, no, this is a man of character. This is a man who works hard. He works hard for our family, the culture of the company, everything. And for me, that holds weight because I see that same thing with my CEO. When Cordes goes out there and sometimes it's like, oh crap, what is he saying? I even told him this. I'm like, he knows it. He's got the reputation. Sometimes I'm bringing up popcorn. Sometimes I'm like, oh God, and sometimes I'm like, hell yeah, but I think that says a lot, about your company culture. So talk a little bit about from this time right now of how the market is. There's so much volatility. hell, we're supposed to have seen things get better, but they're getting worse. I mean, where they're supposed to get better last year, they haven't gotten better yet. You know, things have been ridiculous. How are you, as the president of Next Door Lending, the people who work with you shoulder to shoulder, who are looking up to you for guidance and direction and saying, hey, this is what we're pushing forward, even though they're all, you know, my understanding, everyone's self generating and doing some other kind of stuff too, but like,
Yep.
how are you leading your family there on how to move forward and how to pivot through this environment that we're in right now? Can you talk about that? And then you can
Yep.
pivot to
Absolutely.
AIM, you know, so go for it.
Yep. No, absolutely. So I started to rebuild a team. And again, here, I'll start with this. So we are coming up on 5 years old this year
Okay.
as an organization. And the amount of mistakes I've made are absolutely absurd. And, you know, the amount of ways I would have
Part of
done
learning.
things so differently are absurd. And so, number one, like, just you got to look yourself in the mirror and you got to realize, like, you're not perfect as badly as you want to be perfect. The hardest thing to do, though, is not lie to yourself. It's the hardest thing to do, man. It wasn't that bad, was it? Right? It's like, okay, if it was bad, it was bad. And so,
Yeah.
number one, just accept that. Number two, manage expectations. So when I started to rebuild the team in April, the biggest thing for me was this is going to be done my way. Okay. And whoever doesn't want to do it my way, no problem at all. I got nothing but love for you, but you're not going to be a good fit for this team. And that's okay. Because now I brought out the psychopath, right? Now this is the older version of me where it's like the shit gets done. But it's going to get done the way I say it's going to get done, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? If I'm the leader of this pack,
Yes.
then we're gonna operate with my movement. And so resetting the managing the expectations was the biggest thing. The team we started with 3 people April of last year. I'm literally up to 20 people.
Nice.
My team is all self-gen. We're all purchase. We're all realtor focused. That's all my team focuses on. No lead flow from that perspective.
Gotcha.
You know, outside of, you know, like YLOPO and some of the leads that I have with my agents that come in the door. I allow my team to work those, you know, pending licenses and seeing all that stuff. But that's the first thing, man, is like you got to manage the expectations and set the standards. Now, in this market, how do you set the standards? Because back in the earlier market, when the rates were 2.5%, 3%, people's standards were, okay, a win is if I close a loan. No, my win now is not that. My win is you go to an open house. That's a win. My win is you pull a credit report. My win is you pull a pre-approval.
Yeah.
So, or you issue a pre-approval. So now you have to change mindsets about what a win actually is. Hey, and these are real conversations. Look, guys, the low hanging, like right now, when I hire people, I try to sell them out of coming to me every time. This is not easy. This is really difficult. The market's difficult. Can you do this? Yeah, I can do it. Well, you didn't let me tell you what it means to do this, you know, and then I'm really hard on them, right?
Good.
That's concerning to me. Hey, can you walk me through what you think it's going to take to do this? It's going to be tough, right? Monetarily, it's going to be tough. Can you handle that? And so, one, I'm making it very difficult from a barrier of entry standpoint. That's like another piece of the puzzle from it.
But real quick,
again,
on a pause, you're
yeah,
doing them a favor by being transparent
100%.
and being that. You know, it's the lies of, oh, great, no, it's no problem. We're gonna give you this shit and that stuff. This is shiny. And then they're in a world of hurt. Now you hurt them because you didn't set clear expectations. So I'm love hearing this. Keep going. Sorry, this is awesome. This is
the next thing is I don't allow resentment on the team. So if you have resentment, that's your fault, not mine. I give you ample time. You come to me directly. It is not fair. And I have my warrior, and I tell the team this all the time, and they stop it amongst each other, which is what you need. But I tell my team all the time, it's not fair. Okay, let's just say you have resentment against me. I have a title, right? I'm still an LO, but I have a title. I still own the company. So if you go to talk to your peer about me, your peer is going to agree with you no matter what it is. That's not fair to me as your leader if you're not coming to me with the problem.
Yeah.
And so shutting down resentment is another huge thing to me. You got to come to the source. Literally 9 out of 10 times, it's always a misunderstanding is what I found. So that's another piece of it, is eliminating that resentment. And so between that and just changing the mindset of what a win actually is a big deal. And then the last thing, we have a group chat. You can only be in this group chat if you're going to be committed and part of the team. This group chat is a massive resource, positive messaging only. I don't allow negativity in that group chat whatsoever. Zero negativity. You want to be negative, it's to me behind closed doors. That's no problem. So that group chat is so positive. You can ask questions all day. It's literally just like I'm a guideline nut.
Okay.
So I get to answer questions about guidelines, how to structure a deal, how to talk to an agent. I have a realtor meeting. Can someone make it with me? Like now the team's bringing other people from the team to go to their events. My team now, they schedule open houses together. It's
Nice.
so sick. So
Nice.
now they go to open, and we're creating that culture. And then the last thing of it is empowering your people, which I have to continue to get better at. But now, we do Wednesday sales meetings as a group at 10 a.m. We've been doing it now for God knows how long. We now have somebody different from our group do the training.
Oh, okay.
So there's a new LO every week doing the training as opposed to me or one of my leaders, Gabby, doing the training for us. So that's it, man. Like that's literally it. And just holding people to those standards has been super helpful.
That's money, and I really like the aspect of managing the expectations because then you're not dealing with managing personalities. You're like, hey, this is what we agreed to, and you're going through that barrier of entry, and saying, hey, this is what their expectations are. And that's how you truly lead. There's a difference between being a manager and a leader, right? And when you're leading with, hey, here's what we're doing, you figure out how to get there. Be creative. You have your own creative genius, and see what that you bring to the table. But there's a couple points that you brought up about the no negativity aspect. I get that because it can be a cancer. Unchecked, it can become a cancer that ruins and destroys a company very, very quickly, especially when there are a lot of emotions, a lot of insecurities, a lot of doubts, frustrations, financial stresses on the line. It makes a mountain out of a molehill. And so I can appreciate and understand it's like, hey, don't do that in the public setting. But I also appreciate the fact that like, hey, if you have an issue, let's talk about it. Now, for those who don't understand, who have never worked with people from Eastern culture, that is how it is. It is, uh, but on the Western culture of the PC warriors, right? And the you were even politically correct's not even an appropriate phrase anymore. It's something else, that's been changed again. Where everyone wants to go through the HR routes. It's all about anti-confrontation, and it's this weird ass environment where people don't have the integrity to say, hey, or feel the confidence, the need to say, hey, I need to talk to you direct, and so that's a different part when you're dealing with people who are like, what, maybe they got a quiet voice or whatever, and they may be intimidated because you're confident. And there's nothing wrong about being confident, but some people falsely attribute confidence to overbearing power. you know they weld them together, but they're not. They're different. They're different aspects of a machine. And I think people who don't understand the that aspect of your personality, like you come from a culture where you hit things on head on, you move on. I mean, that's how my dad was. My dad was no bullshit. You take same thing with my mom, and I'm a mama's boy too. But my dad was like, handle it, move on, leave it in the past, you know. But my in-laws, boy, tell you, it's a whole different thing,
Yeah.
in-laws and other stuff are like they're the kind of people that hold that crap in, like, and it's explosive later. And I'm like, how is this an issue? Like, well, you stewed on this for how long? Like, why didn't you just talk to me? And my wife's like, oh, they don't do that because you're too, they don't want to. And I'm like, why? Like, let's just get this. This is nothing. Let's just handle it and move on. And they're like, yeah, but it's everything to them. And I'm like, so for me, it took a lot of different aspects of different maturity part of realizing something that was insignificant for me may be monumental for someone else. And it's took me a while to really understand that, and so that's going to be a good point to transition into the aim part, right? So the aim part of our conversation. So it's different because when you're the leader owner of your company, they expect, like, this is who our leader is. There's the rallying cry. Here's our battle flag. He's our quarterback. We're going to war, because that's what you want when you have an organization. You want people who you have each other's back. That's what makes you family, right? As a company, you want that. I remember when I was working for Quicken Loans and we were just about to eclipse Wells Fargo. Tim Berkmeyer, an incredible leader, would come down and says, "We're burning the wagons." It was like we're going after them. Let's go for it. Everyone was staying later, working their butts off, and whenever we passed them, it was a big celebration. I appreciate that. Now that's a different culture though from AIME. And now AIME itself is a mixed bag of a whole lot of things, and there is no perfect organization anywhere. But right now, there's a lot of emotional people going through emotional things, and everyone has their perspectives about things. It doesn't mean they're all right. Doesn't mean they're all wrong, But now you're dealing with a culture of where it's not, although it's a business, it's not, it can't be ran like a normal business, because it's a different type of culture. It's a trade organization, right? And you brought up some really incredible things by bringing on new board members now. I'm seeing on Facebook people wanting to go in, and you're establishing a board, and it's been what, like the first 30 days?
30 days.
Incredible leadership on your part to start looking for that, because there's so much complaints about transparency, and you're bringing that in. And and I appreciate that, I really do. And so, but going into that, how you lead an organization like this of independent people and a variety of different professionals who choose to go into, who are paying to support to go into, that is different than employees. So there's a different mentality and leadership part. And I think this is where watching you grow and develop, like I appreciate you taking responsibility, but moving the direction still, right? You're the quarterback. You got the ball. And I see that. And when I see elements of leadership, I see people as like, you know what? We still need to move the ball. We'll handle concerns as they come, and you're going to learn and grow, and you're going to develop and all these things. But it's not like you're new to leadership. Like you understand, you got 10 years underneath your belt. You've worked with, especially when you're being at Quicken and that machine of how they go through people. You've worked with hundreds of people, a whole lot of different personalities, in a whole lot of different situations. So I can say with confidence, knowing the culture there, you have to have been a pretty good leader. You still get lessons learned. Everyone does. And the person who says they don't make mistakes, I don't trust. I do not trust someone that acts like they walk on water when I know there's only one who's done that right.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually go fonder to a leader who takes a shot and misses versus the ones who are not even willing to try. And that bravery and integrity. And then when something goes wrong, to man up. And as Mike Cordes says, next is a thumbs in outward, kind of thing. Is like, instead of pointing out, try to point inward. Now that's not always the case publicly. That's the times where sometimes I'm puckering up when I see some kind of post, but at the same time is I'm seeing Mike grow and develop too, and I think a lot of us have, but those who know him within the circle know his intents are well. And I would have to say the same is for you and for your people. But now going for the aspect of moving forward with the AIME organization, which is different than your business, although there are similarities and a lot of parallels, they're not the same. How do you go about helping an organization that is in the process of hurting and healing? Because a lot of people are like, hey, all right, let's run, let's move forward. And there's other people who are still, for whatever reason, they choose to be in their own mental state, where they're at, and there's others who are like, you know what, I'm piecing this together. Okay, he's a good guy. Okay, I'm seeing this. All right, maybe sitting on the sidelines trying to make decisions on stuff. They're like, hey, I want to watch some more. But there's others like, yeah, no, all right, let's go. I don't expect perfection. I expect progress. I expect someone who's going to make decisions, and then we're going to pivot. When things happen, we're going to address it. We're going to move on. Those are the kind of people, that's kind of the pack I kind of stick in with. I'm more of those, and then sometimes I'm more in the middle of, hey, let's see, let's get an idea what the character's like, and then let's just keep. But as long as we keep moving forward, that's my perspective. Is like that's how we're progressing. That's a long explanation. Probably should be trimmed up a whole lot more. But with that being said, how are you taking on the challenges and opportunities? Because I often think they're often the same. Often the challenge is the opportunity. How are you taking that on? I know you're not even, I think you said you're not even getting paid right now, with this role.
I foregoed my salary. Yep.
Yeah. Holy shit, people. Are you going to be busting this dude's chops and the dude's not even getting income yet? Like, really, back the hell up. Sorry. That's just like, holy hell, back up, but give the dude an opportunity to do something. But with this being said, please talk about, this is an opportunity to just share like what your intent is, like what's your why behind it, and like why are you willing to do this when you can be focusing more time on your business. For me, that says a lot. Like, why are you willing to volunteer on this part, forego a salary at this time, and hopefully you can get one down the road, and that you choose to accept it, because you damn well deserve it. And I believe in getting paid what you deserve. I mean, wouldn't have this job if I didn't, but what's motivating your why of who you are as a person and professionally to take on this challenge and this opportunity? Can you talk about that for a little bit?
100%. So I want to give context because there was a couple things you brought up that I loved, and so I'm going to kind of try to bring it all full circle. My brain moves incredibly fast.
Yes,
from that, sometimes too fast. We're extroverts, right? We speak before we think. So the first thing is, I talked to you about this. Number one is understanding the psychology of social media. So I'm a data guy. I love reading psychology books. That's all I do. So there's a lot of studies around social media, and I know you call them keyboard warriors. So the biggest thing to understand first, right, is like, okay, how do you remove yourself? I was telling you, not take it personal.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing is the biggest reason why people feel like they could just type away is because they don't feel that there's a human on the other side. So perfect example of this is when you're a kid. You remember playing video games and getting mad at the video games and swearing at the video games and you're a POS and screw you, I can't believe I lost. It's such bullshit. So
throwing remotes.
But same mentality, right? So that's the perfect way to explain it from an analogy standpoint. So it's the same philosophy, and there's so much data on this. It's absurd, right? It's the data. Go look it up. It's mind blowing. That's the first thing that I did, right? Because again, perspective.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, boom. So the first thing that I did was, okay, that's the first thing I had to understand is like the psychology behind it. Because it does, I'm human. It does hurt. I read it. I'm like, you really never talk to me. So I had to understand the data behind it. So that's what the data indicates. And it's the truest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Then my approach was, now you're going to call me. Okay. Let me get you to call me first. So now if I get you to call me, now I already know, because most people are good in nature. Most, not all, but most are good in nature. Now you got to hear my voice. Okay. Now you got to hear my voice. Now you got to talk to me. I'm not aggressive from that standpoint. Very easy to tell the second within 2 minutes when you're on the phone. I'm not combative within 2 minutes and you're on the phone with me. So if I start off the conversation combative, aggressive, in your face, it's going to make it easier for me to look at me as a robot again. So now that's part of like, the idea. And I want to showcase to people who I am as a human being. That's not who I am. I'm not an aggressive guy. I'm not a guy that's going to be combative and in your face. I'm a guy that's going to seek to understand. Yeah. Now it's going to make it more difficult for you. So part of the idea was I had some people say, because I turned off the comments on certain occasions, right?
Yeah.
But instead, what did I do? I offered office hours. Yeah. I was sitting at my desk just waiting for calls. Okay. I got the first time around, I got 6 phone calls and about 7 text messages. All right.
Okay.
So think about this. All right. All the same people that had the certain energy. Okay. They were this, and this, and this. I took that ability away, just that one small piece of it. And I said, call me directly. Yeah. Call me. Grown up to grown up, call me. You can roast me. You can be upset with me. You can do whatever you want. But look how much it minimized the amount of potential damages
Yeah.
Because what happens is it's the remember, so and so's doing it, so I can do it.
Yeah.
So and so's being negative, they're being hateful, so I can do it too, because they're allowing it. You take that one aspect away, and the psychology behind it and the data around it again is
Yes.
absurd.
Yeah.
And YouTube, there's really high people on YouTube that they have a lot of subscribers. The Outdoor Boys. I don't know if you ever watched the Outdoor Boys.
I haven't yet.
A guy named Luke. He literally lives in Alaska. He's always outdoors, and he had a huge thing on it where he turned off his comments because he wanted it to be family friendly because some people were making terrible comments.
Yes.
You know, and YouTube has this whole algorithm, different story. But he turned it off, and now it's just the people that want to support him and the people that want to love him. You know, from that perspective. So that was like let me test the data, and it was crazy because it worked exactly the way the science told me it would work, to a T. Wow. So that's part one, to a T, man, to a T. I can't even express to you how crazy it was for me to read exactly the game plan, read the strategy, and then all of a sudden I do it and it worked to a T. I was Perfect. Like, oh my God, this is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then the third piece is now I'm like, okay, what's the best way to do it? If not everybody wants to talk to me, no problem. They don't have to. I get it. You don't have to. You don't need to, like, I am naive and ignorant to think that everybody's supposed to like me. What a just naive, ignorant way to think as a human being. Yeah. I got to earn that. So it's like, okay, now what do? Let me go call all the top supporters, all the people, you know, from the past, from just that want to potentially listen to me or at least hear me out.
Yes.
So I'm close to 400 phone calls in.
Oh my God.
400. I haven't stopped. I cleared up my calendars. I cleared up my business. I passed off I did everything I possibly and humanly could to do that. And so now I'm bringing people back in, cooperation and collaboration. Look, here's who I am. Here's what I want to do. I need your support. I need your help. I know I got to work on my business. Please understand that. I'm well aware of it. Yeah, However, I also believe there's a lot from my business that I can really teach to this community.
Absolutely.
So that was kind of the steps behind it. And you're seeing it work. You're seeing it work. You're seeing it work. You're seeing it occur. You're watching the board stuff. There's so much positivity about it. And now it's like, I got to keep delivering. So I understand that. And I still got to work on myself. So making sure people understand I'm a human. So that's kind of the 3-step approach I took from that perspective. Now, to answer your question in terms of, like, you know, the differences, I know you said it, but there isn't differences to me. I'm in the business of people. That's just what it is. To me, I'm dealing with people on this front and I'm dealing with people on that front.
Okay.
So that's my business. My business is people. I'm in the people business.
Uh-huh.
So I approach it with the same mentalities, which is manage expectations, right? Have direct conversations, let people vent, let people get it out. Can we come to a conclusion or a compromise? And then if I go through all of that and we can't come to a compromise, well, at least I'm on the phone with you and you realize I'm not an asshole. Yes. So it's like, well, listen, man, I don't agree with your business practice. Hey, I know you don't. That's okay. I get it. There's still $600 million of pretty damn good, you know, business according to yourself. But I really would love to talk you through and ask you questions. Plus, my relationship with vendors. We're a big vendor partner, right? We have big vendors because of our size. So now tailoring those conversations and how can I help and how can I do this and is there something I can do or maybe something you can help me with my business. Yeah. So now I'm able to have these combos and bring everybody full circle. So one by one, brick by brick, I'm not afraid to get yelled at. I'm not afraid of confrontation. I'm not afraid of any of that. Why would I be afraid of it? Like, why? That's my job. That's why I'm at, you know, AIME. That's part of my journey. And then to answer your last question, like, why would I do it? What's in it for me? This is super simple, man. My mentor, you know, I told you the story that's the story about that I'm trying to tell you is my first training I ever did. I was 22 years old. Okay. And I'll bring this all full circle. 22 years old. I did my first training and I was so excited to do this training. I was going to trainers. I was putting together PowerPoints. I was on YouTube. I was on Google. I was trying to learn how to train, how to have a combo. So put it all together, 2 weeks, you know, I'm excited. I walk into this room and 3 people are in the room. 3 people. Wow. And right away, my mannerisms changed. Man, there's 3. All right, whatever. I went through the training. I did the motions and okay. Thank you so much for your time. Go back to my desk and I'm super upset, visible on my face.
Gotcha.
My mentor comes up to me, pulls me aside. What's wrong? What's wrong? Yada, yada. You know, that whole spiel. He pulls me into a room. I tell him, I go, man, I had this training. There was only 3 people there. And I look at his face and his face looks disgusted. And I'm just like, oh my God, and when someone you love and you care for, they
Yes.
have that look, you know what I mean? You're like in the
Yeah. You're
corner,
like,
like, what
oh
did I
damn.
say? What did I say? Yeah.
Yeah.
And he goes, shame on you. I'm like, what? He goes, shame on you for thinking that because you're John Haddad, you should have 1,000 people in that room. And now because of your shitty mindset, the 3 people that were there to actually listen to you got the worst version of you because you thought you should have 1,000 people in there. He said, shame on you.
Wow.
And he said, John, do me a favor. He said, moving forward, right? He said, moving forward, give people, they deserve, this is what I told you earlier. They deserve the best version of you. And he said, when you're my age, you get to look back and see how many supporters of John Haddad there really are.
Wow.
And so for me, that is truly my why. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to make impact. I'm going to call you. I will get on the phone. I know I can't get everybody to see my side and like me, and that's fine.
Yes.
But I also know there's a lot of other people on the other side that I know we all need more love in our life. We all need more compassion in our life. We all need better human beings in our life. So I'm going to continue to prove that to people. And God willing, one day, when my time comes and I'm looking down on this earth and my kids are sitting there and I get to, look at my kids and I'm in my 80s, God willing, and in my 90s, God willing, and I have grandkids and my kids and their friends. You know what the thing is that they can never do? Whenever they ask me how my life was, guess what? I never have to lie to them. I never have to lie about how great my life was. And so there are some people in this world that are going to have to lie to their friends, their kids, their grandkids. I refuse to let that be me because there's been too many people that have poured into me for free of charge, that have passed away, God rest his soul, that are looking down on me. So shame on me to screw that up. A kid with no college education, a kid with nothing, a kid that had $0 in his pocket, literally $0 that was paying his parents' bill, that was going to work at the dollar store till midnight just so I could help my family out when I was 14 years old, 15 years old. That kid's not going to let those people down. And that I can make a promise to every person that ever talks to me. So don't mean to get emotional. Sorry, but that was it.
That is everybody. That's John.
Thank you, man.
That's who we have. And I'm not going to wrap this up with any other questions. How do people reach you direct? How do your clients, if people want to do business with you, how do they reach you? With your phone number, however your chosen method, how do people get a hold of you? Because none of this, when I hear this, I'm like, well, there's going to be people, I want to do business with John. I love what he's doing. And how can people follow you so they can continue to receive inspiration and advice from you, and any other you get the final thoughts, my friend. I greatly appreciate you. Thank you.
I appreciate you, man, and God bless you. And your questions are amazing. Your format's amazing. Who you are as a human being seems to be amazing from our brief conversation.
Thank you.
But even you offering your platform to allow someone else to do something like this on your platform is incredible. So even for the people that you're allowing me to get in front of, thank you, because not a lot of people are willing to do that and share their network. So thank you for that. The best way is always the way I'll tell people: 734-377-7986, my direct cell. Been my cell phone number since I got a cell phone. So you can call every which way you want. And then Instagram, it's my favorite, Jonathon_Haddad, JONATHON_Haddad, HADDAD. I'm just here to try and make one impact every single day, get as many supporters, of myself, and create as much positivity as possible. I'm not perfect. I'll never pretend to be. I know not everybody's going to like me, and that's fine. But I also know there's a lot of people out there that I can relate to and connect with. So your story is your story, and my story is my story, and I'd love to hear and listen from everybody. So God bless you, and thank you for all the love and support and the great questions that you asked today, brother.
Perfect. Thank you. You definitely are in great hands. Anyone who wants to work with John or his team, look at this leader. You're in great hands. Thank you very much for showing up to the show. Thank you for watching and listening in to today's episode. Please like, share, and subscribe so we can strengthen our mission and get the message out to others on how to leverage to build wealth. Who's next?